actually did it right this morning, it looks like.
Hey, we're making progress. It's fine.
Man.
Don't worry about it, everybody.
No, it's all part of the deal as I try and learn StreamYard. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a Happy Tuesday. Bases dropped for another edition of Soccer Down here. John here, Jarrett there. And we've got, busy show this morning. We've got, and I'm not even going to try to hit the notes this early in the morning, but we've got Champions League to talk about. We have a firing in Major League Soccer. It's the 5th of the year. We'll go through it and its iterations. And also we've got the rest of the weekend that was, because Jarrett was under the weather. And he is now officially, I guess, equal with the weather. Yeah, I don't think
we're on par.
Okay, so it's on par. It's an on par Tuesday with Jarrett _Smith. But before we get into all of that stuff, it's time for the opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. And for those who are watching on Twitch, I will turn. See, I need a C stand. I've just realized I need a C stand or something, because the banner that I have for Kickoff Coffee, I have to consistently turn the QR code toward the camera for those.
You just hired an intern.
There you go, and have the dog bark at the intern because it's not part of the family.
Yes.
So I have that in the background for a show every morning. But yeah, I need a C stand or something to turn. There's your QR code for Kickoff Coffee, KickoffCoffeeCO.com, and Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And this is in case you missed it version of the opening kickoff. And over the weekend, true, man, we could hire an Australian intern, but can you put up
the miles though? My God, the miles.
Yeah, the miles, and that's the thing, is that we would have to figure out how to reimburse ourselves at 55 cents a mile, and then every day trying to figure out how.
And tax season's gonna be a nightmare.
Yes,
I don't know. Because I think Australia's on IFRS with the way they do their taxes, and America's still on GAAP with its like 50,000 pages.
Okay.
So yeah, tax standards are really weird, and America just kind of generally like. It works the same way MLS does with tax law, where it's like, we're just going to make laws on top of laws to undo the laws that we made that we didn't, that don't work anymore.
Yeah. So it's you make more laws to go on top of the laws instead of laws to replace the laws. But anyway,
IRS GAM is what we're getting at.
Yes, that is true. So as a part of our discussion about what happened in the weekend that was with Major League Soccer, and Dylan Butler will join us again tomorrow at 10 to go through on his perspectives as we get ready for action at the Fraction in the midweek with Memphis 901 coming to town. There was a moment that happened in the LA Galaxy Sporting Kansas City match, and we talked about it yesterday. I posed the question to the floor, Jarrett. If you were in that situation, what would you do? Would you go Panenka? Would you go absolutely crushing it? What would you do in that situation? And those, the folks that answered pretty much were like, no, I wouldn't go Panenka. But Chicharito went Panenka with the game on the line, possibly the playoffs on the line. And he, you're thinking, okay, Panenka, and you're going to fool the keeper. John Polskamp was not fooled. He kept his ground, and it was one of the easier grabs. I think Conor Gallagher was the last person that I could think of that did it, and it was in the PKs in Charlotte when Chelsea played Charlotte, and you had Willie P and Jess making that call, and Jess absolutely destroying Conor Gallagher, as she should have in that moment. But here we have found, the play-by-play call in Spanish of the Panenka, and sometimes those of us who are in the industry, you have moments like this, and you sit there and you go, man, that's a heck of a call. So here's your call of the Panenka from the Spanish announce from the international feed on MLS on the weekend. So give this a listen.
No lo puedo creer. ¿Qué demonios? Pide perdón a lo Panenka en un partido 2-2. Hijo de...
All right, so let me actually play that from the beginning because when I hit pause, it paused it in the middle instead of at the end, and it didn't recycle it. So we'll go from the beginning.
Javier Chicharito Hernández va por su hat-trick. ¡Chicharo! ¡Oh, no lo puedo creer! ¡No lo puedo creer! ¡Qué demonios! Pide perdón a lo Panenka en un partido 2-2. ¡Hijo de...
The laughter in the call is awesome. That's all I'm going to say.
In a different universe where Damian Albarn had not written the brilliance that is Demon Days, that laugh is the intro and outro to Feel Good Inc. As opposed to what was actually used on the album.
Yes.
Look, this is the thing, like when we talk about like the bravery of a player to do something and the balls it takes to do stuff, because it's really easy to be the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
And he managed to be the GOAT that time, but yeah, next time maybe he gets it right. And he's already said like, yeah, I'm gonna do that again.
Yeah,
it's gonna work next time.
Yeah,
because there is that insanity that exists with pro athletes, and especially of certain positions like strikers, closers in baseball. It's this insanity of belief that, hey, yeah, that didn't work out, but next time it's going to work 100%, and I will be laughing at all of you. It is the constant and insane belief in oneself.
Yes. And so the translation as it was given on the interwebs after the match when he was asked, he says, "I'm sorry. Of course I'm sorry. I did a huge mistake, and I'll take the responsibility. My instinct took over. In Mexico, we say, me jugó una mala pasada. It played a trick on me." He said, and added Chicharito, who scored the 200th and 201st goals of his club career before the failed penalty. So, I'm sorry. Of course, I'm sorry. I did a huge mistake. I'll take the responsibility. My instinct took over. And in Mexico, we say, me jugó una mala pasada. Played a trick on me. So there you go. And he will do it again. But once again, that is the levels of confidence a star athlete has in themselves in these kinds of moments to do that kind of thing.
He has to. You have to. You can't. You're not scoring 200 goals without some level of insane confidence. You just don't. You got to have that. It's still had 2 goals in the game. Just didn't work out for him in that moment.
Yes.
Sorry, Chicha.
No. And so right now they are below the playoff bar, and they got some work to do.
Yes, they do, man. Jason talked about it before the season. If Greg Vanney survives, if they don't make the playoffs, and the West is weird, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and you mentioned the West, and we'll get into the standings. As a part of this right now, LAG has they're unbeaten in their last 5, but they've drawn 3 of those. They're 3 points out of the playoffs. They would have been 1 point out of the playoffs behind Portland if they had gotten the win against Sporting. So you've got LAG at 39, Seattle at 36, Portland is at 42, and they are behind RSL on goal difference. But Minnesota's at 44, Nashville's at 45. So you've got 3 teams, and if you add FC Dallas, you have 5 teams separated by 4 points in places 3 through 7 right now in the West, with the Galaxy 3 points back and the Sounders 6 points back. And the Sounders only have 5 matches to go. Portland only has 4 matches to go. So they're going to have some spectating on their own while everyone else around them is trying to figure out what they're going to do. Dallas has played 30. Nashville's played 30. Minnesota's played 29. RSL's played 29. Portland has played 30. The Galaxy have a match in hand or 2, and they can make up the difference there, but they're going to have to get some. They're going to have to get some W's and full points working their way forward. You mentioned, we talked about coaching changes yesterday in the dinner news dump. We have Houston separating from Paulo Nagamura. They're last in the West, led by Dynamo. They will be led by Dynamo 2 coach, head coach, if I could get my upper plate to work this early in the morning, Kenny Bundy, on an interim basis for the remainder of the 22 season. Goalkeeper coach Zach Thornton will remain on staff. assistants Chris Martinez, Jimmy Nielsen have departed. Pat Onstad in a press release. Here's what he said. Difficult decision because Paolo's a top individual who's earned the respect of the players and staff for his tireless work ethic, commitment to the club. We wish Paolo and his staff well moving forward in their careers. Moving forward, we're excited about this opportunity for Kenny. He's a talented up-and-coming coach who worked his way up through our coaching system, and he will lead the team for the remainder of the season. And Nagamura joined Houston ahead of the 22 campaign after leading Sporting Kansas City 2. We got to see him for the last couple of seasons with Sporting 2 when we were covering when they were in USL Championship with Atlanta United 2. And they were 8-16-5 under Paulo Nagamura. So first, and I think that this is key to this, Jarrett, where you have the Dynamo in their first full season under Pat Onstad and under Ted Siegel. And yes, they're going to miss the playoffs for the 5th straight year. And since 2014, they've only qualified once for the postseason. But when you have a new owner, you have a new owner and a new GM looking at how things are for your club, then you have decisions like this. So, once again, new owner, new GM, not necessarily a surprise, although the fact that it was with a handful of matches to go in the season, for me, you're looking at 5 matches to go. My first question is, I know you're giving Kenny Bundy here a bit of a runway in 5 matches. I don't know if that sample size is going to be enough for you. And Nagamura, why not just give him the other 5 if you're sitting there and you're chasing Sporting, San Jose, and Houston right now all within a point of each other at 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah, Houston's not making it though, man. I'm surprised they fired him now and didn't just wait to the end of the season,
right?
Just to run it out, and maybe they want to see what they have in an interim and see how it fits. But yeah, I mean, you're not making the playoffs at this point. One of a number of teams. Hello Atlanta, hello Seattle. The dirt has been shoveled on the plot of land at this point.
Yeah,
and Houston's in that. Like, Houston just hasn't been able to turn it over in years. It feels like, and it still feels like it's a sleeping giant of a market. You went and made a huge signing in the summer that you haven't played well since you've done that. It's just, you had Tab for a year, now you've done this for a year, and you're getting into this weird situation if you're Houston that you're getting into this. Are you going to go through a coach every year? I mean, what are you? Because I'm interested. Like, what are they seeing that is saying, okay, we're not going to give it another year to just see if another year is what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm not in that press. I'm not in that front office, so I don't know what they're seeing that folks ain't seeing that it tells them that's we don't need to give this another year. We got all the information we need. So
Tab was
what
there.
It is.
Yeah, Tab was there for 2.
No, Tab was there for 2. I'm sorry.
Well, and then Wilmer Cabrera.
Tab was also there. Well, one of those years being 2020, which, man, it's hard to hold anything against anybody in 2020.
Right. And then Wilmer Cabrera was there, had the longest managerial tenure before that one. Houston did bring in, with the new ownership under Ted Siegel, they did bring in 2 DPs in Ache, Hector Herrera, and Paraguayan striker Sebastian Ferreira to help things out. And, obviously it's anticipated that the offseason is going to be very, very busy for Houston. This is the 5th coaching departure this year in Major League Soccer. You've had DC United with Hernan Losada replaced by Wayne Rooney. And you've had your Earthquakes with Matias Almeida replaced by Luchi Gonzalez for next season. You have Charlotte with Miguel Angel Ramirez. Christian Latanzio is there on an interim basis. And then Ronnie Dyla and NYC to Standard Liège. And now Nick Cushing has been the head coach on an interim basis since Ronnie Dyla left. And it's...
Nick Cushing should just be grateful they built up a hell of a buffer before he got there, because it has been ugly in NYC consistently. They cannot get out of their own way.
No.
They got enough of a buffer, and they're getting enough in the results to stay up, but they're where you want to be, where you did a lot of work early in the seasons, where everybody wants to be. You did a lot of work early in the season to you had that buffer. So if you hit Skid Row, you can survive it.
Yeah, and NYC has lost 4 of 5. So you look at form and go back 5, they've only won once. You go back 10, they're 3-1-6 in their last 10, having only won once in their last 5. And then in their last 15, they've only won 5. 5-3-7 in their last 15. Then they've won 3-1-6, 1 draw, 6 losses in their last 10, and they've only won once in their last 5. So that's what Nick Cushing has been watching from the touchline for NYC. And if I am an NYC fan, obviously I'm one of those folks. We're sitting right now. You lost 4 of 5. You've got 5 matches to go. Orlando has a match in hand. And by the way, while we will be at the Fraction tomorrow night in Orlando City is going to be chasing the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Trophy against Sacramento Republic. So we'll keep you posted on that one at the same time. But, yeah, if I'm an NYC fan, I built up a lot. I'm only 2 points behind Red Bulls, but right now I'm looking at the folks behind me. Orlando City's won 4 in the spin. They're 3 points behind me. Crew are unbeaten in their last 5, although they've only won 1. They're 5 points behind me. And then you've got the Revs below 40 points. But right now I'm looking at Orlando City and possibly Crew or whoever wants to make that jump in those last 5 or 6 matches. I'm worried about dropping out of a first-round home playoff match if I'm a fan of NYC right now. So, I mean, it's, if you're NYC, you're looking over your shoulder and you're sitting there going, man. And, and I would be too. So it's really rough right now if you're a fan of NYC. Going over the standings, and we'll get into the matchups from the last weekend outside of Atlanta, which we talked about a lot yesterday. And we'll see if we can get Jarrett's comments on Atlanta quickly also as a part of the process. I know, Bam, what did you think of your front line? With LAFC when you got the 2-0 win. So that's a big question I have, because I know that you said that if it wasn't 3 dudes up top that you had in mind, then something wrong was going to happen. But you end up getting the 2-0 win, 9 points out, 9 points ahead of Austin. Austin in second. They've lost 3 of 4, and they are 5 points ahead of FC Dallas. We mentioned that gaggle of folks from basically 46 to 42. Galaxy at 39, Seattle at 36, Vancouver 34, Colorado at 33, and then you got the Sporting, San Jose, and Houston right now at the bottom of the West. In the East, Philadelphia's won 4 in a row, and they're at 60. CF Montreal's won 4 of 5, including the craziness that was in the Classique, where they were down 2-0, came storming back to win 4-3. And they're at 52 points. They've got that cushion against Red Bulls of 5, 52 to 47. Then we mentioned what's going on with the rest of the folks north of the playoff bar in the East. FC Cincinnati's at 38 points on goal difference, -1 to 0, where New England is concerned. So 1 goal is the difference right now. But, you've got 1 match in hand and same number of wins, and so we're having to work our way down the tiebreaker chain when it comes to New England and Cincy. Inter Miami's at 36, Toronto's at 34, Atlanta's at 33, Charlotte 32, 10 wins versus Chicago Fire's 8, and then DC United right now at 26 points. They finally got their first win under Wayne Rooney, and so they've gotten 3 points in their last 2 with DC United at the bottom of the table. And you look at what we've seen from the matchups, and obviously the Chicharito moment is one of those moments that you look back on and you're that much closer to trying to figure out what the playoff picture is in the West. But the results from the weekend, let's go back and go through the results on the weekend. You had 5 matches on your Saturday. FC Dallas put 3 on Minnesota. Minnesota fell apart in quick succession. It was, I want to say, 3 goals and I want to say 7 minutes as we were getting ready for the FC Tulsa match. That was what was on in the press box in the S suite. And we were just looking. It's like it was goalless. Jarrett left the room, and then he comes back, and he will be back. He had to take care of some real-world stuff, so he'll be back in just a sec. And then you look at, Jarrett leaves the room, comes back 7 minutes later, and it's 3 goals on the board for Minnesota. For Dallas against Minnesota. Crew and Chicago Fire, it was a goalless draw. Philadelphia, once again, no surprise with the 2-0 win, but obviously the Drew Yearwood stuff, we can get into that as well, looking at what happened there and a fit of stupid for Drew Yearwood. And then you had Charlotte and Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati keeping pace at a -185, winning 2-0. Nashville choosing offense, Jarrett. They chose an offense recently with Hani Mukhtar as he's making his push from lane 8 for league MVP as Nashville knocks off Austin by the score of 3-0. And that got us through our Saturday with the games as we're kind of recapping everything that happened here in Major League Soccer on the weekend outside of Atlanta and their match. So from the Saturday games with those 5, what stood out to you?
For me, it's Hani Mukhtar. Really, you talk about lane 8, kind of lane 2, in my opinion. Drusy was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Hani Mukhtar dragging Nashville into this playoff picture where they had started to slip. Like, there was a week, I think 2 weeks ago, they were out of the playoff picture if it had ended that day.
Yeah.
They were dropping points at home at a ridiculous clip. They were looking at being one of the only teams we'd ever seen with a backloaded home schedule to not make the playoffs. He is dragging them back into this and needs to be part of the MVP discussion. I know the Philadelphia contingent has their own opinions about the MVP discussion and Andre Blake and some of their attacking players, especially as they push for a shield. But Hani Mukhtar dragging Nashville through this and then, winning. It wasn't, that fight the other night, Hani Mukhtar and Drusy.
Mm-hmm.
Drusy has done amazing work this year. That wasn't a split decision the other night. Hani Mukhtar won that one pretty handily.
Yeah.
And it's not over for either one of them. They could meet in the playoffs. That would be an insanely fun matchup and would be another notch in my belt as to why I remain eternally pissed off at MLS for getting rid of the 2-legged playoffs outside of the first round and outside of the final.
Absolutely.
Because it was so much fun when we would get matchups like that. Imagine if we got 180 minutes of those two going at it in the playoffs as opposed to just 90 minutes. So thanks a lot, MLS. Continuing to just grab the landmine with your bare hand.
Yeah. And the way things are right now, you've got Austin at 2 and Nashville at 4. And so 2-7 would be Austin and Portland. This is if it was today. So obviously this will change over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. You would have Austin hosting Portland, which I don't want none of that. FC Dallas hosting RSL. I don't want none of that. And then you've got Nashville and Minnesota United at your 4-5. So that would be your layout for the first round proposed if the season ended right now, 23 minutes into our show. That would be where the playoffs are in the West. Looking at this, that would be interesting for a couple of different reasons because you look at Portland, Austin, done fantastic this year. Q2, it's one of the great venues out of the blocks in Major League Soccer, but you're getting Portland and Gio Savarese in a playoff race. Then you have Pablo Mastroeni. We know what he did as a 7 seed last year. He will be sure to sit there and add things to your roux that you did not see in the kitchen, and he will definitely spoil your dinner if given the opportunity to. Nashville and Minnesota for me. If it was to finish today, Nashville hosting Minnesota, that would be a fun one for a bunch of different reasons out of the blocks.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of these that could be an insane amount of fun as we quickly approach playoff time.
Yeah,
and I look forward to all of it, and I look forward to a lot of stupidity in the East and the West, depending on the matchups you get, because it really could go either way for a couple of them. Like the playoff pictures are still kind of convoluted.
Yes.
Your local representation will not be among that. It just is what it is. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't know how some people feel. I have known enough people in my life that are okay with that sometimes because then they can watch it without the stress.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's going to be really dumb and it's going to be very interesting. And hell, I have a lot of questions because I want to see what does LAFC do in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Because they had look, that's a great win over the weekend. Like, they needed that. They needed something that was like just hand into the wall, through the drywall, firm, as a way of saying, yeah, here's a win. Here's 3 points. Here it is in convincing style. They needed that. Philadelphia continues to keep chugging. What do both of them do in the playoffs? Because neither one of them have really been able to get over the hill consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this the year it happens? Does Philadelphia not get a piano dropped on them from the 8th-story window? Does LAFC, they're not going to have to run in Seattle? Seattle's chilling out with Atlanta in the category of, we thought you were going to be able to put this together to get there, but it looks like time is running out and or your performances have not been good enough.
Yeah.
All the above. Probably won't have to run to Seattle. I'm going to laugh when it's like Portland.
Yeah.
Because Portland's just kind of scrappy. It kind of have like those middle of the conference Mountain West vibes of, you don't really want to play them because, yeah, you might beat them, but it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to hurt for 90 minutes. It's going to be like walking through a briar patch. Like, sure, you'll be able to do it. You're not going to enjoy it.
No. It's like barefoot on a beach, and you've got some of the sand that's there that you don't know, and you realize that the walk on the beach was not going to be everything that you anticipated going through it. On Sunday, we talked about Portland and Atlanta yesterday. Quickly, what are your thoughts, since we didn't get to catch up on your thoughts on Portland, Atlanta yesterday?
I mean, it was just it was bland. Like, it looked like a team that, and I hear what they're saying, and I think they are going to keep fighting.
Yeah.
I think the Philadelphia game takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot out of any team.
Yes.
Philadelphia is a physically and mentally tough team to play. You played hard and you got undone by I shouldn't say you got undone. You lost 4-1. You didn't get undone completely by 2 goalkeeping errors, but 2 goalkeeping errors put you in a tiger pit when you didn't need to put yourself into one. You don't need to help Philadelphia. Then you get on a plane to fly across country to play Portland and just looked tired. Just looked like just worn out by it all. And, not with a bang, but with a whimper, I guess, because I don't think you're mathematically eliminated, but at this point you're like drawing up playoff scenarios that have multiple webs of what ifs.
Right.
And I don't see it. I saw it before you played Red Bulls at home, because that was if you win that game, I thought you could have built momentum and gone from there. You didn't. You can talk about dropped points during the season with stuff like the Columbus game or Miami early in the season, but you can also just as easily talk about, mental lapses that have cost you points during the season. And while the injuries on the back line have been a real thing, despite whether or not people want to talk about them or not,
right?
The attack hasn't clicked. And I think me personally, I think part of that is the fact that, you haven't been able to consistently have a striker give you 90 minutes that can be lethal, because I don't know if it's his knee, if it's what it is with Joseph that he can't give you 90 minutes, but I mean, Joseph's pressing stats were just through the floor this year. Isn't able to give you those, 70 minutes of pressing high and causing chaos. But now, whether or not you're deploying him late in games and it's working, because he is really finding that rhythm in an awesome way in the last few games. I don't know if he can do that for 90 minutes right now. I kind of want to see, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting the in front of goal productivity from Ronaldo Cisneros. And Ronaldo Cisneros, I think, is a good backup striker. But what you're left with now is a backup striker who is starting. And your starting striker, who you were expecting to be that guy, just hasn't been able to give it to you for 90 minutes. So you're not getting that productivity there. Luis Araujo is continuing to – I don't know if he's trying too hard. I don't know what it is, because we've seen flashes of him be really, really good, and he fit the mold of what you wanted and what you needed, but it hasn't clicked. But I mean, your attack got healthy, like you needed it to, but it hasn't clicked. And you needed it to, because you knew the back line was going to be giving up goals, because we knew it was makeshift. We knew put out as good as he can be in the air, hasn't been perfect, and no one's perfect. And Alan Franco hasn't been perfect. And George Campbell's been coming back from injury. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Godinho for stepping into that game, though. I mean, there are a couple where he went up for that one grab and it comes off his hands. It didn't seem like it rattled him. He guessed right on the first penalty. It's just a perfectly taken penalty. I don't know a keeper who's going to save that one. I thought he did fine in that game, and he got thrown into a tough situation because, all professionals are ready to go, man. But that's coming off of a bad loss. Then you're going across the country, and you're asking him to jump into a game in Portland, and it's chaotic, and he ends up having to face 2 penalties. But otherwise, I thought he did fine.
Yeah,
I guess I wouldn't be shocked if he's that guy next time out.
Yeah.
I want to see how guys handle the end of the season. I want to see it from a character perspective. Like, how do y'all fight? Because I think what Brooks Lennon said is right. I think they will continue to fight. There's a lot of that in these guys' DNA that I think they will continue to scrap and claw, even if they aren't in the playoff mix. And they need to for everybody's sake, because look, especially
and for their jobs next season if they want to.
That's where I'm going with it. This is a thing now where you're looking at people trying to keep their job. Now you're playing for, hey, does so-and-so need to be a part of this project going forward, or do we need to be looking elsewhere, that sort of thing. Now you got guys playing for their jobs. And
see, Jarrett moved and he went digital. So Jarrett needs to go back to where he was. But to continue his point. And I know that, let's see, so Nix and Emilio and Michael have some comments in here in regard to Atlanta United. And I will wait on those until Jarrett comes back in so he can finish what his thoughts were on the match and on the season. And so quickly, let me get into the rest of the scores, and we can get into the rest of the games once Jarrett returns to us. Classique, we talked about that. Montreal was down 2-0, came back to win 4-3. It was crazy at 7:30 at BMO Field. And then Lorenzo Insigne at the end of that match was grabbing his hamstring. So we'll see what kind of impact he has. Let's see. So we'll see what kind of impact he has as Toronto FC heads to Atlanta. DC and Colorado goalless draw. New England and NYC. We've talked about NYC and just how completely and totally off the rails NYC have gotten here. Galaxy and Sporting, we mentioned that with the Chicharito penalty. That one was a 2-2 draw. Seattle put that was the last match for Paulo Nagamura with their 2-1 win at a -189. San Jose got the win over Vancouver. Vancouver has traditionally problems winning on the road. They were a +233. San Jose at home was a +104. And then LAFC, goalless at the half, came back to get 2 goals on the board in the second half to win that one 2-0. So looking at, since we're looking at LAFC, Bam, let me get into your comments really quickly. Like I said, I'm saving the Atlanta United conversation for when Jarrett comes back in.
I'm here.
Oh, you were there. Okay. Because it's like you went.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So you were still, you were still trying to finish your point about Atlanta United, and I was going to save the Atlanta United comments until you came back. But
you're fine. Let's just go and do it because Jason listed out the last 5 games. Toronto at home. I mean, Toronto at home. If the offense was clicking, I would say it would be a lot of fun. But right now, the offense isn't clicking. Toronto can't stop anybody. Right. But they sure as hell can put goals in bunches. Orlando's unpredictable. You should have beaten Orlando last time out. Gillespie made the save of the year. You had Orlando's number. Philadelphia at home, no. New England, maybe. That's going to be interesting. It's fun. It's so funny because when you talk to fans about this of different teams, they're going to have different opinions. You ask an Atlanta fan how Atlanta New England is going to go, they're going to tell you that Atlanta's going to drop all those points all day long. We pulled Shooter in here right now. Shooter would tell you Atlanta's going to win that game 2-0 probably, or 2-1.
If it's Shooter, he'd probably say 6 because of Shooter's.
Shooter's just endlessly pessimistic. God bless him.
Yes.
And then New York City, New York City hasn't impressed me. So Jason, it might be 0 points out of there. It might be 5 points out of that. Might be 6, might be 3. It could be anything. You could talk me into 3 to 5 points out of that because it's going to be weird. And NYC and New England are kind of in all of this. All of these games, though, have impacts on the playoff picture. So even though Atlanta's pretty much, not officially, out of the playoff picture, they can completely obliterate the East playoff picture, and I kind of hope they do. Take a point off everyone. I don't care. Go out there and get 5 draws and just screw with the playoff picture for all I care. Have some fun with it. Embrace being the spoiler.
Yes, and that's one of the roles that they have for the remainder of the year. For those who are looking at Atlanta United 5 points back with 5 to play, Toronto with 4 matches to go. All intents and purposes, this one's an elimination game. 1 point does neither team any good if they're trying to chase that 7 spot. So somebody's, and that's why I think that this particular match on the weekend could have a lot of offense attached to it for those reasons. I think that it could have just that idea of, we've got to score, the other team scores, okay, we've got to get 3, the other team scores, we've got to get 3. So I think that mentality probably carries itself into the game this weekend at the Benz with Toronto and Atlanta. That's me.
Yeah.
All right. So let me get into the other comments from folks about Atlanta United. Nick's nothing but empty words from Atlanta at this point. Once again, not a cohesive team effort from any part of the squad. Tired of the excuses and the promises. Emilio, or maybe the coaching staff, hasn't figured out how to use these folks. And Michael Head is in your corner. He says, preach. The offense is stagnant and boring, something Atlanta United said they would never be, whereas the exciting, beautiful game, really, really disappointing offense. So those are the 3 main Atlanta United comments that we've got on the board.
Yeah, and that's how, it's been so disappointingly stagnant because you keep waiting for that engine to turn over, and it just hasn't turned over offensively. You knew what you had defensively. I think you've gotten creative in a good way, like pushing Gutman to that left center back role, playing 3 at the back, letting him get forward with Caleb Wiley, Caleb Wiley you're keeping on the field because of what he brings you, and he's earned those minutes. You've gotten creative in that way, but Andrew Gutman shouldn't be that guy who is, your most dangerous guy in those moments. You got too many guys who can provide that danger that just aren't doing it. And I don't know what they do next year. What they do in this offseason. I think there is going to be that internal discussion. I'll say the same thing I said, I think 2 weeks ago, was until you know who the president is, until you know what they're going to do with leadership and what their vision is and what they're going to want to do, we're kind of spinning our wheels predicting it. Because I can't in good conscience tell you what they're going to do because I don't know who's going to be in charge and what they're going to want to do, what they might want to change, what they want to stay the same. So until then, you just kind of grind it out and watch the rest of the playoff picture unfold. And like I said, Atlanta's going to impact that playoff picture potentially, but they're 5 points out right now?
Yeah, five with 5.
Yeah, it's 5 points out, but 5 points with 5 games is an insane mountain to climb because you have 5 teams in front of you that also you're asking for results, and that's not that ain't it. It just ain't it. But I think if nothing else, if I wanted something positive out of it, it would be, even if you don't take results at the end here, because I think it's kind of a moot point right now because of the way the standings look, at least get the offense going. You got Joseph going in that role that he's got now. I don't know if he can start and give you 70 minutes. Do you choose to say, hey, what if we start him for 45 minutes and then we bring him off as opposed to bringing him on? I don't know what the plan is there. At the very least, just if you want the small victories, get the offense going and maybe have something to build off going into next year. Get minutes for George Campbell as he's continuing to develop. I am glad that you have been able to get some of the kids out there and play. Caleb Wiley continues to get minutes. This is, even if you punted the season, this is what it would look like. of getting kids out there. Because, you have your homegrown deals that don't kick in, like a Johnny Fortune and Noah Cobb, that don't kick in until next year. And you aren't thin enough to do the hardship exemptions at this point.
Right.
So you get the kids out there and you see who has what going forward. You see that, okay, we can do this left side overload, and what Andrew Gutman looks like as a left center back getting forward. It's really good. He brings a lot of energy. He needs to be a part of the project going forward. Great. How else do you reevaluate the rest of that? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've tried to remind myself and everyone about, is that, if we have ideas about players and how things are going to look, keep an eye on that in the off season. That's stuff to be discussed then, when you know what your front office looks like, when you get to these windows, when you know what player evaluations and interest from the outside are going to be. So when I know that we all have our ideas as to, this guy should stay, this guy should go, this guy, hang on to those ideas until everything is solved in the front office, because then that way you can sit there and have an idea as to philosophy, players, and remember that you're always dealing with both philosophy and cap. This is not, European football where it's Football Manager and you can just kind of throw folks up against the wall. And it's like, yeah, I want this guy, and this guy, and you're
God, I wish it was. Just take the cap off. If Atlanta and LA and Dallas, in a perfect world, Houston being the sleeping giant where it is.
Yeah.
If these clubs want to go out and spend till their brains leak out of their skull, let them. I wish we would, man. Like, if Orlando wants to go out and spend, let them. NYC wants to go out and spend, let them.
Yeah.
Let them spend whatever they want. They want to pay, $6 million for a backup striker and pay $12 million for a starting one. Do it. Let them. Who cares?
I mean, I would, at the very least, I would add another DP, and the whole idea of allocation money. It's like, look, you're going to find, if you were to take the shackles off, and I'm even if you did that incrementally, you would have owners who would invest. You would have owners who would want to invest in bulk, and then you would have those that would want to do things in their economical way, whether it's through their academy and coming from youth and building from within and sprinkling folks in from the outside, or you have folks who are going to want to do it in an economical fashion, and you can take that however you want with that word, and they'll just invest, and they'll have a system, and they'll have a philosophy, and they'll sit there and it's like, okay, we can fit these guys, and these guys into our system. But I think you're doing the league a disservice if you, especially, and I'm going to tie the World Cup into this, with the World Cup coming, and you want to show yourself off as a top 6 league, top 8 league, top whatever league in the world, and you still have financial restraints on your clubs to where they can't invest the way that they want to, it kind of pulls perception back a little bit, that you're not where you'd like to be, and you're not where you should be when it comes to the growth of your league after 26 years.
I mean, yeah, it just, because you'll have some teams that won't spend, and there's what it is, and some teams will go through their academy system, like Philadelphia has done, like Red Bulls have done, and they've built it up. Like, Philadelphia's academy is a conveyor belt. It is the chocolate conveyor belt from the I Love Lucy episode at this point. It's just going to keep churning out guys who fit what they do. And they worked a long time to get that. I mean, you go back, Philadelphia had some lean times where, it just felt like, Jim Curtin was like on the cusp of being fired when he shouldn't have been. And he survived. And then now, like, look what they've got. They've made smart investments. And then elsewhere, they've supplemented through the academy. Red Bulls did that when they made their big pushes. And Red Bulls have had a really chaotically up and down year, like Orlando-esque. Maybe I'm not giving New York enough credit for being a schizophrenic mess like Orlando is. What Dallas has done, being able to run people through the academy left and right. I mean, it's what you want to build to. It's what you're hoping you'll see more of when you've got guys, like a Noah Cobb, who looks like he could be something special. Yeah. A Johnny Fortune. I don't know what a Johnny Fortune's ceiling is with the first team. We saw it the other night, John, with, Johnny Vial and with Luke Brennan. Like, what can those guys become?
Yeah.
To impact this team coming up through the conveyor belt, where you're not always having to, where you're not going out and having to spend the money because you have somebody within. This takes a while to get that going. I mean, you're in a better place, you would thank God, than, Minnesota, who kind of neglected their academy from the jump.
Yeah.
And you're starting to get, 1-2 guys a year, and you're hoping that ramps up as more and more guys develop, 2, 3, 4 guys a year coming up through the academy who can impact the game, who can be in the game. I guess the thing for me is like looking at guys like we saw Alan Carlton this year with the twos, going from a guy who kind of at the beginning of the season looked like he was just kind of treading water, trying not to sink in the middle of the game. And when we saw him last month, looked like a guy, he was trying to take the game to the opponent. Yeah. He was trying to compete for every ball, even in lost games. He was out there competing for it. Now what you need is more guys doing that, but now you need them to do it on the first team level. Of you put guys in those situations where, hey, they might be trying to tread water for part of it. Okay. But later in the year, we want to see them not treading water, but trying to take the fight to someone else. And that it was that Birmingham game was just an abomination. For Atlanta United too, but it was very cool to see because it's like a 4-0, 5-1 game, something like that. And Alan Carlton was out there trying to fight the entire Birmingham team. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I wanted to see more of it.
A couple of other thoughts before you go. Will says, do what baseball does with the luxury tax and make the tax revenue into Gam, Tam, Black Betty, Bam Lamb. If folks want to spend in Major League Soccer and come up with a ceiling, and then if you go above that ceiling, then it turns
I'm fine with that. However you want to do it. However they want to do it, I don't care. I would love to see them open it up, though. If the New York teams want to spend, and I think NYC would spend a big before Red Bulls ever did. Red Bulls will spend sometimes, but shout out to buying Patrick Klimala for profit. Yeah. And people in Glasgow still laugh that they made profit on that deal. It is amazing to them because he completely did. Yeah, he was not in Scotland. But yeah, NYC, they'll spend. They'll go find themselves another Tati if they can.
Yes.
Although it's the same thing with finding another Tati is the same thing of let's find another Almiron. Well, they don't grow on trees, otherwise everybody would have one. Yeah. So you gotta nail it. We'll see how they would spend, but open it up. Let them spend if they want to. And yeah, I don't necessarily think you have a situation where you have a bunch of homegrowns trying to carry Atlanta, but you want to supplement that roster. If you want to go get your firepower from elsewhere and then build your spine through homegrowns, I'm good with that. And I think this year you've seen one of the downsides of having a young team when veteran leadership gets hurt, there ain't nobody on the field who, has that leadership. Yeah. Who guys can be leaders, but that war weary veteran, you didn't have an Ozzy or a Brad Guzan in those moments. And I think that really hurt. Even when you were getting guys back healthy, you just didn't have that somebody who could get behind the line and push across do the bush push. Yes. Across the end. You didn't have somebody who could get behind and tell everybody to push in unison and keep the line together. Yeah. And so be it.
And it's the veterans, and it's veterans and it's veterans along the spine of your team too. It's like, yes, you have these veterans and they could be in different points of your starting 11, but you have veterans on your spine. That's that's kind of what we're staring at with those particular elements. That's a show for you, right?
That's a show for me. Ricky will complain about all of this later in the Discord because we have Champions League today.
Yes, we do.
Oh God.
Yeah, we do. So, yeah,
I got heartburn thinking about it.
Yeah. So we'll go over Champions League and all the other stuff in just a little bit. Jarrett, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you.
All right. That's a Wall Pass Wednesday next up for Jarrett. So since we are at the half, that means that, or since we're close to the top of the hour, that means one thing. Time to read the promo. And it's from our friends at Lemonize Service, QR code over my left shoulder. For those of you watching on Twitch, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, the Lemonize Service has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can come up with, try to see if we can do something with musical accompaniment here. So, did that work? There we go. There we go. Okay, so realtors and privacy. There's the element where I put the chicharito sound. It's in the same column as all this stuff. So maybe I'm trying to learn all this stuff at the same time. So Eliminized Service has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. The realtors and property managers use Eliminized Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that these days, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or in the cupboard, you bring them out into the air and you spray the masking agent. Guess what? That's why they call them masking agent, because all you're doing is masking the odor, not attacking it all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing easy one of two ways, by using either cubic feet or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website, eliminize.com. But do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from, so they can help you with your issues. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. And, by the way, I guess that means that the entire first hour was brought to us, was an opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, since I forgot to close that idea out. There's your QR code, once again turned. I know I need to see stand behind me, or at least something over my right shoulder to square that up. Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase, and they in turn take 10% of the purchase and roll it over into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Getting the whole music thing figured out. So, okay, so now I know that the whole music thing is there. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can fade it. There you go. Okay, so it worked. All right, good work by me. It's amazing what you can do and you can learn on these things. So yes, I am learning as we're continuing to go through. And Will, yes, Ozzy was supposed to be kind of that guy that would be your closer at your 6. Santi Sosa at 100% healthy, he would give you 60 or 70 minutes. And then Ozzy comes in for 20 or 30, closes the door, gives you that bit of sandpaper that you're looking at. And the difference in points per game with Ozzy, 2, without 0.96. So, so that's, I think that's part of the discussion there with the injuries and, how injuries can impact you. And that is definitely one of the elements that's attached to it. Back to the top of the order. And we'll run through your thoughts here before we get into the previews of everything. We'll go through juice boxes and matchups and things like that and let you see what's going on with Champions League. And yes, I know. And Michael Head looking at Chelsea, definitely looking forward to the champions. It just seems weird that we're already there. And I know that it's because of the schedule being pushed up and the World Cup in Qatar and all that kind of stuff. It just seems weird that out of the blocks, we're already getting into Europa Conference League, Europa League, and now today Champions League with match day 1 in the group stage. Tafka, anyone still clinging to the idea that the playoffs are going to happen? I'm not. You're probably in the majority opinion. And is Jason coming back? Not that I don't love you guys, just curious, since y'all may have said it already, but my listening has been more sporadic lately due to work. Okay, I mentioned it yesterday, Tafka, at the end of the show, but it will be, I'll talk about it. Jason is fighting long COVID. And it sucks. And if any of you know an individual who has had COVID in the first place, or B, has been fighting long COVID, it sucks. And that's the only word I'm going to use. I could be more colorful, but I'm not going to. You kind of get the idea. So the priority is that Jason be as healthy as possible for the Atlanta United efforts that he does. And right now, health and welfare is number one. And, that is why, we've obviously, we value what we do every day. We love what you guys do on the Twitch pitch. We love all the interaction on social media. We love the fact that, in our 6th year of doing this, and it's wild to think that this is our 6th season of doing the Daily Show, that, that you guys are a part of SDH that you are. But because of the last 2 years, we'll go ahead and say that for a timeline, things change. And it was very humbling for us, to continue to do a show every morning, especially during COVID. And I mean, and it turned into, one of those daily activities where we got to get in touch with each other. We got to keep in touch with each other. And we got to, sit there and reach out to folks that were a part of, SDH on a daily basis. And, it's stunning to think that this is our 6th year of giving you all the news and information and being soccer's morning show. But with what has gone on the last handful of years, and I can tell you, I remember where I was when everything shut down. I was in Mexico City with Mike and Jason for the match against Club America. And, I got there the day of the match. Got there the day of, flew out of Atlanta, flew down to Mexico City. And then, you had the match in and of itself, and it was the last match of the day. And it didn't start until 10:30 local time. I forget, but it was a late start. Then I walked the mile to the hotel. I'm in the hotel room. And well, let me rewind a little bit. But during the match in and of itself, we're starting to see these updates on Twitter about the NBA shutting down. And you see Mark Cuban's face as he's looking at what's going on, all those kinds of things. You're seeing the sports leagues in the U.S. shut down, specifically the NBA. And the match seemed secondary at that point. Match was over. Post game was over. I go back to the hotel. Team charters back. And then I spent that Thursday looking at CNN International in the hotel room all day long. And for a while, I wondered if I was going to get home. And it was very, very lucky that on Friday, caught my flight after the Friday morning show. And then got back to Atlanta. And then we all know what's gone on since. But, yeah, Jason is fighting long COVID. That's the bottom line. And his health is paramount. And so it will be, we're going to have everything that we've had on the network. It's just the morning show is going to be a little different. And thank you all for putting up with me and me learning technology as a part of all of this stuff. And so I will tip my hat to all of you for putting up with me as I'm learning things on the fly. And I'm still learning things. So morning show will be what the morning show has been. It'll be looking at news and notes and your opinions and everything else that's gone on today. Other programming on the network. It's Tuesday, so it's our USL content that comes across. It'll be a USL Championship, USL League One, Prem and Proper will be all out today. I've got my list, by the way, of everything that goes on a weekly basis right here. So this is part of the process with everything at SDH. So Prem and Proper, USL League One, USL Championship. Those programs will come out later today. Wednesday, Dylan Butler will be with us in his 10 o'clock time slot, unless the world catches on fire at Major League Soccer and MLSsoccer.com. Then on Thursday, it is a power hour on Thursday because of high school football commitments. And I have to go and put on makeup and do all those kinds of TV things. And so that's on Thursday. So Thursdays will be power hours. We'll catch up with Nico. We did Nico live late Thursday afternoon. We may do that for the foreseeable future, is that we'll do Nico live. And then Friday, it is the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming. But we start early on Fridays, 8:45 start, so we can get the weekend whip around done before our visit from either Michael Parkhurst or Greg Garza and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. And then 10 o'clock, we take care of everything else that gets you ready for the weekend and all that kind of stuff, fantasy and all that. So the format going forward for those who might just be drifting in and out really doesn't change a whole lot. We still have our programs, but Thursdays are power hours at 9:05. Then Friday start early at 8:45 to get us to 9:30 and Beyond Goals to get us to 10 o'clock and possibly other guests at 10 o'clock as we get you ready for the weekend. So those are really the only changes. But Pat, this is definitely, it's a Team Hawaii shirt. So yes, Patrick found out. Yeah, Patrick knew what it was. So found it, and I'm like, yep, I got to dive into that. Trust me, Patrick, there will be a lot of other old stuff that it will be worn by the old guy. So figured it. So, but yeah, you win. Yeah, Patrick wins this morning for determining that this was a Team Hawaii shirt from the old NASL days. Okay, so all right, let's run through what you guys are thinking on the Twitch pitch. Yes, Champions League kickoff day. Come on, you Chelsea. We'll get into the Champions League in just a little bit, Michael. So, bam. Going to say the people running the U.S. Open Cup are idiots. There's no way I can legally watch it in Australia. It is improving that every match that they could get there, that they could get a production crew to, was put across the ESPN family of networks. But yes, they still have a lot of work to do when it comes to showing things. It is hopefully getting better and better with their relationship with ESPN and ESPN Plus. So definitely sorry that you can't watch the U.S. Open Cup final. You should be able to. So definitely need to send a note to U.S. Soccer. By the way, they moved out of Soccer House finally in Chicago. They've moved into a shiny facility, I think, with glass windows and square business park looking buildings. So they moved out of Soccer House after 30 years. Bam on LAFC. When you first saw the lineup, very worried, but Bouanga played brilliantly. Yes, he did. It's at the point where if Chicho and Opoku start, the third player doesn't really matter. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that going forward. I still have issues, Bam, with LAFC when it comes to their physicality. And so U.S. Open Cup last year got geo-blocked on YouTube, so outside North America could watch Open Cup games. Okay. They got a lot of work to do. And Emilio, Gio Savarese was one of the guys that we were talking about here on the show before they named their first ever, because we see what Gio can do with a club, and I want to see how much longer he stays in Portland just on general premise. Bam needed Ryan Hollingshead to not shave his mustache ever again. We'll keep an eye on that with LAFC. This was the points that we were making with Jarrett with discussing points and who was left. And Emilio Pineda needs a window and rest next year to be fair. And that's where I am with Gonzalo Pineda. He needs a second transfer window, and he needs everybody healthy first and foremost. That's where I am with it. It's like, that's where I am with Pineda. Got to get everybody healthy, have the second window, have your training camp, and then, work your way through. So that's where I am with Gonzalo Pineda. I still tip my hat to the coaching staff and to what they've been able to try to do this year and trying to juggle all of the madness that has been going on around them. So they haven't quit, and they're not going to quit. They'll do the remaining 5 matches as best they can, and we'll see how many points that they can get out of those matches. Let's see. Jarrett and Ricky Ricardo looking forward to the madness later. Toronto plays well at the Benz, Emilio. Yes, they do. But on the road, even in this iteration, their defense is suspect. I think they can be had when it comes to goals on the board. And I still wonder about Insigne. Is he going to be 100% for this match? And if he's not, is he in the 18? Does he come off the bench? Does he try to give you a couple of minutes? Does he come in with 20? We'll see. Let's see. What else? Back in July, right? I remember those conversations, Emilio. Let's see. Seriously, wouldn't be surprised if Toronto smacked us Saturday. When we've smacked them at home, every game I can remember is very close. And that's what I think it's going to be. I think that it's going to be wide open on the weekend with Toronto. Knicks, honestly, the most telling sign things have gone horribly wrong in Atlanta. That Andrew freaking Gutman is our best attacker. Let's see. What else? Will has somewhat recovered from the Tech Clemson game last night. It seemed like The third and fourth quarter was just one of those elements where I think Clemson was just waiting for Georgia Tech to sit there and do the damage to themselves and then just take care of business there, because it was tight for a long time. And then I think they cleared 10 o'clock and then went from 14-10 to 41-10 in fairly short order in about an hour's time. So we'll see what happens with that. Bam. If you got rid of the cap, do you think the New York teams will be better than they are now? I think that Red Bulls would still live in their system, and it would be either academy folks working their way up, the younger talent that they look at, or find other folks from the rest of the Red Bull tree and integrate them and then bring in talent over the top. NYC, I think that if a City Football Group saw an opening where they could absolutely just spin their you-know-whats off, I think they would. So that's just me. Let's see. Going through, where would we be if Bella was still here? Wooden Spoon. That's a conversation with Nix. Let's see. Patrick with the T-shirt. I got a feeling Toronto's going to rip us up. I think it's going to be wide open. It'll be an interesting match. It really will, because, like I said, I think that both teams understand that they are, still chasing. And so 1 point does neither team any good. Is that a double negative? But 1 point does neither team any good. So we'll see what happens there with this matchup. I think that there could be the possibility of a lot of goals on the board. But I understood where you're getting at, Emilio. Not necessarily to come here, but do Geo Magic in a season that allows Portland to change gears. Seem stuck in first gear. Some games definitely they do seem stuck in first gear. And then when you have to when you give up an early goal, which has been one of the points that we've seen with Atlanta United this year, then you're sitting there and you're fighting uphill for teams that'll just sit in a low block and they'll put 5 and they'll put 9 behind the ball, and you're sitting there and you're banging your head against a wall trying to get past it. And so that that could give that also gives the impression that you're stuck in first gear, because that team is anchored, they're not moving, ball to them has cooties, they got a lead, they're just going to punt it long and work there. It's like, all right, nope, you do all the work and you go that way. And then you're trying to sit there and you're chasing the whole game with a team anchored. And so, and so that's happened a lot this season. You give up an early goal and then you're sitting there chasing, and folks are sitting there and it's like, nope, we're just going to punt it long and you can do all the work. And so that's where it's been with Atlanta United. Yeah, Bam. I can see either Atlanta or Toronto scoring a 91st minute winner in a 5-4 game. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a very, very, wild, wide open kind of a thing. But that's my early thoughts on it, and we'll see if that changes as the week goes. All right, let's get you ready for the activity today. And early on, there isn't really a whole lot going on. It's a lot of Eastern European stuff. You do have World Cup women's qualifying with the European sides. That's going to be going on most of the morning and the afternoon. So you can keep an eye on that. Let's look at where you can watch things. And so there should be a lot that is going on today when it comes to soccer on TV. BN has Copa Libertadores at 8:30. USA have an international friendly at 6. That's on ESPN2. FS2 has Liga MX at 10 o'clock, Monterrey and Cruz Azul. ESPN Deportes at 8 has Santos Laguna and Necaxa. Fox Deportes has Monterrey and Cruz Azul in the addition to FS2. Women's World Cup qualifier at 2:45 on Gold TV, Netherlands and Iceland. 2 to NA is your spot for some of Champions League, 12:45 and 3. Dinamo Zagreb, Chelsea, PSG, Juve. Liga MX doubleheader on 2 to NA at 8. Leon Juarez in America and Atletico San Luis. Unimas has simulcast of Dinamo Zagreb and Chelsea, Leon Juarez, and America and Atletico San Luis. Univision has PSG and Juve at 3. College soccer on ACC Extra, B1G Plus, and ESPN Plus. Paramount Plus is where you're going to have Golazo Show with Nico Cantor. You're going to have Women's World Cup qualifiers at 12:30 and 2:30. Champions League, 12:45, 3. You're going to have 6 matches at 3 o'clock on Paramount Plus, 2 at 12:45. Champions League, VIX has 2 matches on Champions League, Borussia Dortmund, Copenhagen. Celtic and Real Madrid is at 3. VIX Plus has your other 7 matchups with Dinamo Zagreb and 6 at 3 o'clock. So that is what your viewing habits are today. If you can't find anything like Gold TV on any of your normal providers, go to Fanatis, FNTZ.co/soccer down here, and you can get, that way you can figure out what you're doing with your viewing and all that kind of stuff. And if it's a place that you think you might have to go off the board a little bit, Fanatis has got me hooked. I like watching Gold TV. I like watching what we see from our friends in South America. So, so if you really want more streaming services, and I've got about 48 of them, Fanatis for me has definitely been one. If you really love the game of soccer, that you can really look at and get your soccer fix in places that are outside the norm. Let's see, getting past noon, and you've got your World Cup action once again. World Cup women's qualifiers in Europe at noon. All right, 12:45. Here's your juice boxes. Dortmund is a minus 323 at home against FC Copenhagen. FC Copenhagen's a plus 850. Dinamo Zagreb, a big home dog, as Chelsea comes in at a minus 208. Dinamo Zagreb's a plus 600, basically. Then you've got, so once again, a lot of European World Cup action. You've got stuff going on in various cup competitions in Europe. You have, you got South America that picks up around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Europe continues all the way through the afternoon. FA Cup in the smaller divisions, that is going to be all over the place at 2:45. You have Champions League at 3. All right, so here's your quick numbers on Champions League at 3 o'clock. AC Milan is even money, plus 100 at Salzburg. Salzburg's a plus 284. Celtic, a big home dog as Real Madrid visits. Ange Postecoglou has said he's not going to play differently just because it's Real Madrid. He's a plus 363 as Real Madrid comes to town at a minus 139. Leipzig, big favorite at home against Shakhtar Donetsk. Remember the Ukrainian Premier League, and our designated Ukrainian Premier League correspondent, Bam, just got us started with the league, and they're still having to dodge air raid sirens in league play. So don't know what to expect from Shakhtar Donetsk as they go to Leipzig. Leipzig's a minus 345. Shakhtar's basically a plus 900. 3 o'clock, Sevilla hosting Manchester City. Manchester City, big favorite, no surprise. Sevilla could be a pain in the butt early on at a plus 835. Manchester City's north of minus 300. PSG, big favorite at home against Juve. This one's the numbers are stunning. PSG is a minus 323 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Your draw's a plus 480. Juve is a plus 911 in the composite. Benfica hosting Maccabi Haifa. Benfica is the same at a minus 323. Maccabi Haifa is a closer to being even money dog on the road than Juve is. They're plus 820. Juve is a larger underdog in the composite than Maccabi Haifa is going to Benfica. Benfica minus 323. Maccabi Haifa is a plus 820. So that's where your 3 o'clock matchups are. Once again, World Cup women with European qualifiers continues at 3 o'clock. So it's going to be a very, very busy day with them. USA, obviously a big favorite against Nigeria, minus 33 in the composite. Nigeria is a plus 3,000. Liga de Expansiones at 6:05. Liga MX at 8. Club Leon and Juarez. Club Leon is a minus 105. Your draw is a plus 248. Juarez is a plus 280. 10:05. Santos Laguna at home is a minus 118. Your draw is a plus 261. Necaxa is a plus 309. Serie B's in South America. One match in the Copa Libertadores tonight at 8:30 is Palmeiras and Atletico Paranaense. Palmeiras is a minus 256. Atletico on the road is a plus 786. Colombia, Costa Rica is also another women's friendly tonight. Colombia is a big favorite, north of minus 550. And your doubleheader at Liga MX, Monterrey and Cruz Azul. Monterrey is minus 172 at home. Cruz Azul is a plus 469. Club America is a minus 238. Atletico San Luis on the road, a big underdog, not a surprise there, at a plus 647, and your draw is a plus 347. Just to give you an idea as to what the standings are like in Liga MX here in the Apertura. We are already 12 or 13 matches into the Apertura because they're trying to get to the international break and then give teams and players a chance to catch their breath a little bit over the next 5 weeks before heading into international windows and World Cup. Club America 8-1-3 at 25 points. So is Monterrey. Monterrey has played one more match and has one less win. Pachuca is at 24 points. Santos Laguna fourth at 22. They had a 4-game win streak snapped last time out. Toluca's at 22 points. They played one more match. Their goal difference is +3 compared to +10. Tigres is sixth at 21 points. Necaxa had their winless streak snapped at 4 with a win last time out there at 17. 5 wins and 12. Chivas is 3-7-2. They are in 8th right now at 16 points, although they're unbeaten in their last 5, which shows you where they were when they started. Puebla's drawn their last 5, 9 draws and 12 matches for Puebla so far in the Apertura. They're at 15 points, ahead of Atlético San Luis on goal difference and ahead of Xolos on goal difference. All 3 of them are at 15 points. Your last playoff spot right now is Juarez at 13 points. They've drawn their last 3, and they are unbeaten in their last 4. Mazatlan is at 12 points through 12 matches, 2 wins, 6 draws, and 4 losses. León, another one of the surprises, they've lost 4 of 5. They're at 12 points as well. They are out of the playoff picture, as is Cruz Azul. 12 matches, identical records. 3 wins, 3 draws, 6 losses for both of them. They're at 12 points. Cruz Azul has given up 28 goals in 12 matches so far this season. Atlas, another heavyweight, 10 points through 13 matches. Pumas, another heavyweight, is at 10 points through 12 matches. They've only won once so far in the Apertura. And Querétaro is last with 8 points in the Apertura, 1-5-7 through 13 matches. So this is definitely a table right now in Liga MX that is upside down. Girl, you turn me inside out. That is where things are right now with Liga MX. And it's crazy to look at those standings and see below the playoff line, León, Cruz Azul, Atlas, Pumas, all in a row from 14 through 17. That is crazy. And then you have Juarez, Tijuana, Atlético San Luis, all north of the playoff bar right now. So it's nuts right now with Liga MX and what we're seeing with all of that. Patrick says Celtics going to shock the world. Wouldn't surprise me, considering what we've seen from Ange. And I know that they had some players that were dinged up at Old Firm. So we'll see how healthy they are coming into this matchup. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a very, very low-scoring game against Real Madrid, but it'll be a fun one. So if you've got the opportunity to isolate this particular match, I would isolate that particular match. Michael Head, I know you're looking at Chelsea at a -208. I don't think you have a whole lot to worry about in that particular matchup. So that will definitely be an interesting one, working its way forward, with that. So let's kind of go through all the other news and stuff. We'll get into the papers here in just a little bit. Now, remember, and Paul Pogba, by the way, could miss the World Cup after knee surgery. So we'll keep an eye on him as he's headed toward World Cup as well. You remember all the stuff we were talking about specifically with Paul Pogba and the spell that was allegedly cast on his family? Kylian Mbappe confirms that Pogba reached out to him, denied that the two had differences after Mbappe's name came up in the extortion scandal currently under criminal investigation by French prosecutors. This is from Julien Lorenz at ESPN FC. French prosecutors, remember, investigating allegations Pogba was the target of extortion by his elder brother Matthias and childhood friends, allegedly demanded nearly $13 million from the midfielder. French media reports said Pogba told investigators the extortionists wanted to discredit him by claiming he asked a witch doctor to cast a spell on Mbappe, an allegation denied by his France teammate. Mbappe told a news conference he had no issues, confirmed that Pogba had already reached out to him. So, we'll keep an eye on that one. Also, let's see. Pep Guardiola, no surprise, leading into Champions League, says City can't put all the UCL pressure on Haaland, but considering how deep a roster that is, you may not need to. La Liga has announced a €3 billion global expansion deal to expand into what you'll see an acronym, MENA, Middle East, North Africa, and India. Joint venture to increase their presence in MENA and the Indian subcontinent. 15-year agreement with the Dubai-based company Galaxy Racer is expected to generate over €3 billion in revenue, the league said in a statement. The deal follows La Liga's partnership with Relevant, signed in 2018, which was aimed at promoting the league in North America. La Liga and Galaxy Racer, which is an esports and gaming firm founded in 2019, will each hold a 50% stake in the new joint venture. The league hopes to increase engagement with existing fans in the region, as well as working to target younger audiences under the age of 30. Remember, La Liga's deal with Relevant included an agreement to work toward playing regular season matches in the U.S., although a dispute with the Spanish Football Federation over the plan's legality has put that idea on hold. So we'll see what happens there as La Liga is working their way to to increase their footprint in Middle East, North Africa, and India. Which team is under the most pressure to win in the Champions League? Obviously, you look at the big guns, Manchester City, PSG, and Barca. That's probably your 1, your 2, and your 3. The big question now is, okay, who's going to win Golden Boot? So that's the question to the floor. We'll put that back on Wall Pass Wednesday. Who's going to win Golden Boot? That'll be one that we'll keep an eye on. Have you seen this about Diego Costa? Diego Costa is trying to get paired up with Wolves, and it would be because it's on a free, so you can work outside the window. They had hoped, Wolves, that Diego Costa could come and be a part of their plans, but his work permit was rejected over a lack of international appearances. Wolves is challenging the ruling. They had hoped to offer him a contract if he passed a medical, hasn't played enough international matches, and so Wolves had hoped to sign him in time for Saturday's match at Liverpool after Sasa Kaladzic was ruled out by an ACL injury suffered in their win over Southampton. And so before he was even offered a contract, reports the club was concerned about the prospect of acquiring a work permit, given he hasn't played any professional matches since December 12th of last year. Wolves have appealed to the FA, hope to have the original decision overturned, expect to have a final answer within 48 hours. Remember, Costa's a free agent after leaving Atletico Mineiro back in January. Played 19 times, 5 goals for them in the 21 season before his contract was terminated after just 5 months. Despite being linked with Corinthians, he's remained without a club. Last August, Marca reported he was close to signing a deal with Rayo Vallecano. And so that's the latest on Diego Costa. Will he end up being a part with Wolves? We'll have to wait for the appeals process there and see what it looks like for all of Diego Costa's future and what Wolves are trying to do to actually try to get the ball in the back of the net. Looking at the papers, avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter papers overseas. The Guardian, the Football Association's investigating a video circulating online which appears to show racist abuse being aimed at a York City player, Linnell John Lewis, during their game at Yeovil Town back on Saturday. Daily Express, Manchester United center back Harry Maguire faces a fresh setback with England, with Tottenham defender Eric Dyer set to be recalled by Gareth Southgate. Former Everton Crystal Palace striker Cenk Tosun was kung fu kicked by a fan. I think I saw this video in scenes following the full-time whistle in Besiktas's 3-2 win over Ankara Guru on Sunday night. And Gareth Southgate ready to bring Marcus Rashford back into the England fold after being impressed by his recent run of form as a central striker for Manchester United. Xavi has given 15-year-old forward Lamine Yamal the chance to train with the club's first team after being impressed with his performances in U19 matches. Daily Telegraph, Chelsea will step up talks to agree to a new contract with Mason Mount after confirming Reece James committed himself to the club in 2028. Saw that on Twitter yesterday. If you are a fan of Chelsea, you got to see the photo of Reece James being happy that he signed a new deal. Women's Super League teams are to continue taking the knee when the new season begins on Saturday. Club captains agreeing to give their teammates the option to carry on performing the pre-match anti-racism gesture if they wish to do so. Also on the board, let's see, the Times. Newcastle United have been given assurances by the game's governing bodies that the VAR system that caused such controversy, like I said, this is the wording from the Times, at the weekend is set to be improved by the arrival in 3 months of Howard Webb as football's first chief refereeing officer. Brendan Rodgers has said that he will not seek assurances from the Leicester City hierarchy about his position as manager and that he intends to keep working until someone tells me differently. Daily Mirror. The details of Lewandowski's Barcelona contract have emerged, including the striker's €500 million release clause. €500 million. Don't think that's going to get paid ever. Birmingham City's prospective new owners are expected to finalize plans to refit St. Andrews Stadium later this week as they close on getting EFL approval to take control of the championship club. And Daily Star, new Prime Minister Liz Truss proved she has apparently abandoned her hometown club, Leeds United, for fandom with Norwich. And so that's your tour of the papers this morning. And so we'll see what continues to go on from there. Let me check some of our sources really quickly before we head out the door and see if there's any news from any of them. And once again, when you're looking at sources, you go with check marks. Check marks are good. And, you continue to, work your way in and go, all right, that's a good piece of news. And so I will continue to follow that particular individual. So Fabrizio Romano, Cesar Luis Merlo, Ben Jacobs has come in as one that you can look at for information from CBS Sports Golazo. Updating on Diego Costa, not an easy task post-Brexit. FA also made criteria more stringent after stats showed 55% of non-EAA players granted work permits played less than the EPL average, and 1/3 got no games in a second season. Before the criteria was changed, this is info from Jacobs, 79% of appeals were successful. Now there's a far higher bar. The 3-person panel can, however, score using both objective and subjective methods. The latter is going to be key for Wolves. A player needs 15 points to get an automatic permit. They're judged on things like the band or quality of their last club, international appearances, and minutes played. Costa received 10 through 14 points, allowing Wolves an appeal, but they must show, quote, exceptional circumstances, end quote. The challenge with Costas is he hasn't played since leaving Atletico Mineiro in January, hasn't won an international cap since 2018. Wolves can argue his role and importance to the team, though, and stress the necessity of signing him due to Kaladzic's ACL injury. The one-year deal may work in Wolves' favor, too. The club will argue Costa's role is clear and integral in the short term, even with a January window to potentially push him down the pecking order. Essentially, Wolves have to show why Costa should have been awarded 15 points. Not an easy argument to make decision expected in the next 48 hours. Napoli sporting director Cristiano Giuntoli on whether signing Ronaldo was ever likely. Quote, there was nothing true. We have an excellent relationship with Mendes, but there was nothing concrete. Sorry to say we've never been in real negotiations with Manchester United. So, obviously, we'll keep an eye on that as well. And, see what happens. They'll probably be one of the most expensive seat warmers that Manchester United has ever had. And those of you who are Manchester United fans might be able to help me out with that particular number. But I don't anticipate Cristiano Ronaldo getting a whole lot of starts unless it's in cup play and things like that, and unless his form improves. But between now and January, not looking good for anything involving Cristiano Ronaldo starting or having any kind of major impact for Erik ten Hag in Manchester United, except being the guy that comes on at 60 and gives you 30 and hopefully gets you some goals. But busy day across the board. And once again, thanks everybody for hanging out with us as we break everything down. Let me take one last look. Oh, Bart, stop having hope this team will do something positive, and then he winks at me. Bart, I'm going to take it a game at a time. And when it comes to Atlanta United, obviously you look at this match with Toronto. It's a 6-pointer, and you got to have 3. So that's why I think that this is going to be. You could really get a whole lot of goals here, or you could just have a lot of desperate chances on both sides. But Toronto, for me, on the road has proven very leaky. They're still leaky at the back. You look at the Classique on the weekend, and I think that the speed on the edges can take care of the defenders that Toronto currently has. Chris Mavinga at one point. I think Chris Mavinga went down with an injury at one point. I mentioned Insigne's injury at one point. I want to see how healthy they are when Vanny brings them to town. So that's going to be all part of the discussion too. And we'll continue to work our way through it and see what's going on with everything involving Atlanta United. We'll talk about it more this week. We'll talk more about the league this week. We'll get you ready for the match this weekend. We get Champions League today. We get Champions League tomorrow. We've got a lot of European football to talk about, and that's why we are all here. And, Nix, you're not the only person that runs with that hashtag, but we'll see where it goes. So once again, thanks to everybody here in the Twitch pitch, and thanks to all of you for listening and watching on a daily basis. And thanks for putting up with me and hanging out with all of us here at STH. So for Jason, for Nick, for Jarrett, I'm just John. Played safe, everybody. That is it for a Tuesday and all of your Tuesday thoughts. We'll be back for Wall Pass Wednesday, and it's anything that's on your mind, anything. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the world of soccer. Could be about the return of MJF to AEW. Look at that, because that I know that didn't necessarily surprise a lot of folks when he returned it all out, but we'll see what happens. It's like I said, Wall Pass Wednesday is always fun because it's whatever's on your mind, and it could be anything about anything. So we will catch up with all of you later today as you're watching your favorite teams in Champions League, if they're up for it today, and we'll keep an eye on everything heading into tomorrow. So since it is the end of the show, as I sit here and trying to adjust audio levels, you're trying to close off a show and you're hoping that things work the way out that they're supposed to. So it means it's the end of the show. It means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.